Hello, I'm Sakiz, and on this channel, we explore fictional technology horror stories that feel disturbingly close to reality. Tonight's story is about something millions of women wear every day, a health tracking watch that promises to help them understand their bodies. But what happens when that intimate biological data becomes a weapon of workplace discrimination? This is the story of Jennifer Martinez, an employment discrimination attorney who discovered that women's health watches weren't just tracking menstrual cycles, they were selling hormonal data to employers who used it to deny promotions, prevent pregnancies, and systematically discriminate against women based on their biology. This story explores the terrifying possibility of our most private bodily functions being weaponized against us, where being female itself becomes justification for career sabotage. While completely fictional, it raises urgent questions about what our health devices are sharing and who profits when our biology is used against us. Are you ready to question what your fitness tracker knows about you? Let's begin. Jennifer Martinez had been an employment discrimination attorney in Seattle for 9 years, specializing in gender discrimination cases. She'd seen every form of workplace bias against women, unequal pay, promotion denial, pregnancy discrimination, hostile work environments. But in May 2024, she started seeing cases with a disturbing new pattern. The first was Sarah Chen, 32, a senior marketing manager at a tech company. "I was the top performer in my department," Sarah explained during their consultation. "I exceeded every metric. When the director position opened, I was the obvious choice. But they promoted David, he'd been there half as long and had lower performance ratings." "Did they give a reason?" Jennifer asked. "They said I wasn't leadership material, and that I showed emotional volatility. But I've never had any performance issues. My reviews are perfect." Jennifer requested Sarah's personnel file. The reviews were indeed excellent. But attached was a document Jennifer had never seen before, a wellness risk assessment, based on data from the company's employee health program. The assessment flagged Sarah for cyclical behavioral patterns consistent with hormonal fluctuation and recommended caution regarding high-stress leadership roles. "Where did this data come from?" Jennifer asked. "The company gave us all CycleWatch fitness trackers as part of their wellness program. It's supposed to track our health and give us insights about our bodies." Jennifer felt a chill. Fitness tracker data being used to deny promotions? That seemed impossible, and illegal. 2 weeks later, another case. Lisa Morrison, 28, had been suddenly terminated from her sales position. The stated reason was performance issues, but her sales numbers were actually above target. In Lisa's termination documentation, Jennifer found another wellness risk assessment, noting hormonal patterns indicating potential pregnancy planning phase and recommending strategic workforce planning considerations. Lisa was shocked. "I wasn't even planning to get pregnant. But even if I was, how would they know?" Then another case. And another. By July, Jennifer had 23 clients, all women, all experiencing sudden career setbacks, all linked to health data from workplace wellness programs that provided fitness trackers. 17 used CycleWatch. 4 used FemTrack. 2 used Women Health. All 3 brands marketed specifically to women with menstrual cycle tracking and hormonal health monitoring features. Jennifer knew she needed technical expertise. She contacted Dr. Lisa Park, a privacy researcher specializing in health data security, and Dr. Michael Chen, a reproductive endocrinologist. Together, they obtained the 3 fitness tracker brands and examined what data they collected and where it went. What they discovered was invasive and shocking. "These aren't just tracking steps and heart rate," Dr. Park explained. "They're monitoring basal body temperature variations, sleep pattern changes, physiological stress indicators, and using AI to analyze menstrual cycles, ovulation timing, hormonal fluctuation patterns, and even predict pregnancy likelihood." Dr. Chen reviewed the biological data the devices collected. "This is comprehensive reproductive health monitoring. The devices are creating complete hormonal profiles, tracking when women are menstruating, when they're ovulating, when they might be experiencing PMS symptoms, when they might be trying to conceive. And where is this data going? Jennifer asked. Dr. Park traced the data flow. All three tracker brands transmitted data to servers owned by BioWork Analytics, a company specializing in workplace health optimization through biological insights. BioWork's client list was extensive. Over 400 corporations had purchased Employee Wellness Insights, which was actually detailed biological data on their female employees. The service came with analytical reports flagging women for hormonal volatility, suggesting leadership instability risk, reproductive phase indicators, suggesting upcoming maternity leave risk, cyclical performance patterns, justifying role reassignment recommendations, biological stress markers, indicating limited advancement potential. They're selling employers tools to discriminate based on women's biology, Jennifer said. Dr. Park found BioWork's internal marketing materials make informed workforce decisions using objective biological data. Identify hormonal patterns that impact professional performance. Predict and plan for reproductive events before they affect your business. The materials explicitly marketed the service as a way to avoid hiring or promoting women who might become pregnant, to identify women whose hormonal cycles made them supposedly unsuitable for leadership, and to justify paying women less based on biological volatility. Jennifer, Dr. Park, and Dr. Chen investigated BioWork Analytics. The company had been founded by Dr. Marcus Reed, a former HR consultant who'd been previously sued for gender discrimination. His business model was explicitly designed to enable workplace discrimination while providing a veneer of scientific objectivity. Internal documents showed BioWork executives bragging about helping companies avoid pregnancy-related costs, reduce female leadership, and justify pay gaps using biological data. One email stated, "Employers finally have objective evidence for what they've always suspected: women's hormones make them unpredictable employees. We're just quantifying it." Jennifer traced how widespread the discrimination was. BioWork had sold services to 412 companies employing over 3.7 million women. The fitness trackers had collected intimate biological data from potentially millions of female employees. She contacted her 23 clients and reviewed the discrimination patterns. 12 had been denied promotions after their hormonal data was shared with management. 6 had been terminated shortly after their trackers indicated possible pregnancy planning. 3 had been reassigned to lower positions during times their cycle data showed menstruation. 2 had been passed over for raises with justifications citing cyclical performance concerns. The discrimination was systematic and data-driven. Employers were using women's biology, their menstrual cycles, their reproductive systems, their hormones, as justification for career sabotage. Sarah Chen's case was particularly egregious. Her cycle watch data had been analyzed for 18 months. The report sent to her employer flagged her for elevated emotional volatility indicators during luteal phase. In plain language, the company had tracked her menstrual cycle and decided she was too emotional during certain weeks of the month. The evidence for this was heart rate variability and sleep pattern changes, completely normal physiological variations that occurred during menstrual cycles. But BioWork had labeled them as performance risk indicators. "They tracked my period and used it to deny me a promotion," Sarah said, horrified. "They literally discriminated against me for having a menstrual cycle, for being a woman." Jennifer filed a massive class action lawsuit representing all women whose biological data had been collected and used for employment discrimination. The case alleged violations of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, sex discrimination, the Americans with Disabilities Act, medical information discrimination, HIPAA, unauthorized sharing of health data, the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, multiple state privacy and discrimination laws. But there was a legal problem. The fitness trackers had terms of service that technically disclosed data sharing, buried in paragraph 94 of a 127-paragraph document, stating health insights may be shared with wellness program administrators for occupational health purposes. "They'll argue women consented," Jennifer's co-counsel warned. "They consented to having their menstrual cycles tracked and used to destroy their careers?" Jennifer replied, No reasonable person would consent to that if they understood what it meant. Jennifer also contacted federal agencies. The EEOC launched an investigation into gender discrimination. The FTC investigated deceptive data practices. The Department of Labor examined whether the wellness programs violated employment law. She worked with her clients to document the discrimination. They compiled promotion decisions that changed after biological data sharing termination patterns corresponding to pregnancy indicators in tracker data. Performance reviews that suddenly mentioned emotional concerns after menstrual tracking pay decisions justified by cyclical performance correlating with cycle data. The evidence was overwhelming. Employers had systematically used women's biological data to justify discrimination that would have been illegal if stated directly. Jennifer also released the story to media. The response was explosive. Women's health trackers enabling workplace discrimination, millions of female employees' hormonal data sold to employers. Your fitness tracker is getting you fired, how period tracking became career sabotage. Women across the country realized their biology had been weaponized against them. My company gave us free health trackers. I thought it was a benefit. They were tracking my cycle to decide I wasn't promotion material. I was fired 2 weeks after my tracker indicated ovulation. They said performance issues, but I know they thought I was trying to get pregnant. I'm being penalized for having a menstrual cycle. For being biologically female. How is that legal? The CEO of BioWork Analytics, Dr. Marcus Reed, and 5 other executives were arrested on charges including conspiracy to violate civil rights, unauthorized disclosure of medical information, and fraud. The civil trial became a landmark gender discrimination case. These defendants weaponized women's biology, Jennifer argued in her opening statement. They took the most intimate biological data, menstrual cycles, reproductive health, hormonal patterns, and turned it into justification for denying women equal opportunity. They enabled systematic gender discrimination disguised as data-driven decision-making. Expert witnesses testified. Dr. Chen explained that the biological variations BioWork flagged as performance risks were completely normal aspects of female physiology and had no bearing on professional capability. An HR expert testified that the wellness risk assessments were simply repackaged gender stereotypes given a veneer of scientific legitimacy. An economist calculated that affected women had collectively lost over $2.8 billion in denied promotions, pay, and career advancement. Victims testified about the psychological violation of having their bodies tracked and used against them. Sarah Chen, they monitored my menstrual cycle without my knowledge and decided I was too emotional to lead. They discriminated against me for having normal female biology. Lisa Morrison, they tracked my reproductive system and fired me because they thought I might get pregnant. My body's natural functions cost me my job. Another victim, I wore this tracker thinking it was helping me understand my health. Instead, it was feeding data to my employer to justify paying me less than men. The defense tried to argue that biological data was objective and that employers had a right to make data-informed decisions. But Jennifer presented internal BioWork documents showing executives explicitly discussing how to help employers avoid hiring women, prevent pregnancies, and justify gender pay gaps. One particularly damning email, our service gives employers plausible deniability. They can discriminate based on biology and call it wellness insights. The jury delivered a resounding verdict, guilty on all counts. The civil case resulted in $4.3 billion in damages. BioWork was permanently banned from collecting or selling health data. The fitness tracker companies were required to purge all collected biological data and pay additional damages. Dr. Reed received 12 years in prison for conspiracy to violate civil rights. The BioWork scandal forced a complete re-evaluation of workplace wellness programs and health data privacy. New federal regulations were enacted. Biological and reproductive health data classified as super protected, with criminal penalties for discriminatory use, prohibition on employers accessing employees' menstrual cycle, hormonal, or reproductive data under any circumstances. Strict limitations on workplace wellness programs that collect biological information requirement that health trackers explicitly disclose if data could be shared with employers' right to deletion of all biological data with verification of destruction. The case also prompted investigation into other forms of biological discrimination. Researchers found similar patterns with genetic data being used to deny promotions based on health risk predictions, sleep data being used to justify pay decisions, mental health app data being shared with employers. Jennifer continued practicing employment law, now specializing in biological discrimination cases. But the victory felt incomplete. We stopped BioWork, she reflected, but we can't undo the careers that were destroyed. Women who were denied promotions, fired before pregnancy, held back because algorithms decided their hormones made them unsuitable for leadership, that damage is permanent. Many of her clients struggled with lasting effects. Trust issues with health technology, anxiety about using any tracking devices. Anger at having their bodies used against them, loss of confidence in workplace equality. Sarah Chin described the psychological impact: I can't wear a fitness tracker anymore. Every time I see one, I think about how my body was monitored and weaponized. They took something as natural as my menstrual cycle and made it a source of shame and professional sabotage. 2 years after the scandal, Jennifer Martinez addressed a congressional hearing on biological privacy in the workplace. What BioWork did, she testified, was automate and legitimize gender discrimination. They took centuries-old stereotypes about women being too emotional or unreliable because of biology and dressed them up with data and algorithms. But discrimination by algorithm is still discrimination. She continued, the most insidious aspect was that it was marketed as objective. Employers genuinely believed they were making data-driven decisions when they were actually discriminating based on sex. The data gave them permission to act on biases they might have otherwise recognized as illegal. The case highlighted a dangerous intersection of technology and discrimination, biological surveillance enabling systemic bias while hiding behind claims of objectivity. The lesson, Jennifer told women's advocacy groups, is that our bodies should never be surveilled in ways that can be used against us professionally. Menstrual cycles, hormonal patterns, reproductive health, these are private biological functions. When employers gain access to this data, the potential for discrimination is enormous. Some states went further than federal law, banning employers from providing health trackers to employees entirely, recognizing that the power imbalance made true consent impossible. The survivors faced ongoing challenges. Even with legal victories and financial compensation, they'd experienced fundamental violations. Their bodies had been monitored and judged, their biology used as justification for discrimination. I'll always know, one victim said, that my employer tracked my period and decided I wasn't good enough because of it. That's a violation you can't undo with a settlement. The BioWork case became a watershed moment in understanding how technology can enable new forms of ancient discrimination. The tools changed, but the underlying bias remained, and data made it easier than ever to act on those biases while claiming objectivity. Jennifer's final warning resonates: be extremely cautious about what biological data you allow to be collected, and never assume that health data won't be used against you. In a world where your menstrual cycle can cost you a promotion, biological privacy isn't just about health, it's about equality. This story is completely fictional. BioWork Analytics and the described discriminatory tracking do not exist. Current women's health trackers have varying data practices. However, the underlying concerns are real. Workplace wellness programs do collect health data, biological information can be misused for discrimination, and gender bias in employment remains a persistent problem. The potential for reproductive and hormonal data to be weaponized against women is a genuine concern in privacy and employment law. This story is meant to encourage critical thinking about what biological data we share, who has access to it, and how it could be used in discriminatory ways. Your biology is yours alone and should never be used against you. Thank you for watching.